The afternoon sunlight poured through the windows, casting long shadows across the living room of Claire's home. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness when the shrill ring of her phone sliced through the quiet. Glancing at the caller ID, her heart sank. It was her husband, Derek. "Claire," he said casually, as if he were discussing the weather, "you need to come to Le Bistro immediately. You know, the fancy French place across from the station. The whole family is here waiting for you." Her mind raced with confusion. Le Bistro? That upscale restaurant? Why would her family gather there without her knowing? "What do you mean the whole family?" she asked her, voice tinged with disbelief. Derek interrupted before she could gather her thoughts. "I reserved the entire place. Even invited some family members who usually can't make it. It's going to be amazing." There was a brief pause. Then he added, "The cost is around $20,000, and I'll be paying with your credit card." Stunned, Claire stood frozen, her grip tightening on the phone. Did he just say $20,000? Was this some kind of twisted joke? Derek had pulled reckless stunts before, but this felt different, more audacious, more brazen. She felt her heart race, a mix of anger and disbelief bubbling inside her. "Derek, you can't seriously think I'd let you spend $20,000 without a second thought," she said, her voice shaky yet firm. But before she could protest further, the line went dead, leaving her in a whirlwind of emotions. Despite her shock, determination surged within her. She wouldn't let him get away with this. Grabbing her purse, she headed for the door, her mind racing with questions. How could he be so careless? What was his plan? 20 minutes later, Claire arrived at Le Bistro, her heart pounding with anxiety. As she stepped inside, the elegant ambience of the restaurant did little to calm her nerves. She spotted Derek standing by the entrance, a smug smile plastered across his face, exuding in unsettling confidence as if he held all the cards. "Claire," he exclaimed, spreading his arms wide, his tone that of a man who believed everything was under control. "The relatives are in the other room. We're just getting started." Her eyes narrowed as she stared at him. "Derek, this is insane. You can't seriously plan to pay $20,000 with my credit card." His grin widened, a flicker of arrogance shining through. "Of course I am. It's only natural for a husband to use his wife's money. Don't you agree?" Claire's patience snapped. "This isn't just about money, Derek. It's about respect. You're crossing a line." Derek shrugged, unfazed by her anger. "You can argue all you want, but in the end, I'm paying with your card. If you have a problem with that, maybe you should reconsider being my wife." His words hit her like a slap to the face. It wasn't the first time he had used the threat of divorce to manipulate her, but today was different. Today, she wasn't going to back down. "I canceled the credit card a month ago," she declared, pulling a folded piece of paper from her purse and holding it in front of him. Derek's expression shifted to one of confusion. "What's this?" he asked, his voice suddenly wary. "The cancellation certificate," she replied, her voice steady. "The card is useless now." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Derek's eyes as he grabbed the paper from her hand, scanning it quickly. His face paled. "No way. You're lying. This has to be fake." "Why would I lie?" she shot back, her voice firm. "I need to try something like this." "So I prepared for it. That card is worthless now. So tell me, how are you going to pay for this dinner without any money?" Derek clenched his jaw, his eyes darting around the restaurant as if searching for a way out. "I took the card from your purse this morning," he admitted through gritted teeth. "If it was really canceled, why would I still have it?" A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "I left it there on purpose, Derek. I knew you'd try to steal it. And guess what? You fell for it." His expression darkened, anger flaring within him. "You're really starting to test my patience," he hissed, his voice rising dangerously. "A wife doesn't talk to her husband like this." Heads turned in their direction, the atmosphere thickening with tension as other diners cast curious glances their way. Claire felt the heat of embarrassment wash over her, but she refused to back down. Before she could respond, Claire spotted her in-laws approaching, their expressions filled with concern. They had clearly overheard the escalating argument. "Derek," his father said, frowning deeply, What's the meaning of this? You're disturbing everyone. Derek forced a smile, attempting to act like everything was fine. It's nothing serious, Dad. We just got a little carried away, that's all. But his father wasn't convinced. What's going on? He repeated, his voice more insistent. Taking a deep breath, Claire seized the moment to reveal the truth. Derek booked this expensive restaurant without telling me. He was planning to pay the $20,000 bill using my credit card. Gasps echoed around them as her in-laws processed the shocking revelation. $20,000. His mother exclaimed, her face pale with disbelief. Is this true, Derek? James tried to laugh it off, but Claire wasn't finished. He took the card from my purse, but what he doesn't realize is that I canceled it. He has no way to pay. Silence enveloped the group as the gravity of the situation sank in. Derek's parents exchanged worried glances, and the tension in the room grew palpable. Derek, his father said, his voice filled with disappointment. You were planning to use Claire's card without her permissions? Derek opened his mouth to defend himself, but Claire wasn't finished. She pulled out another document from her bag, a credit card statement, and held it up for everyone to see. And it gets worse, she said, her voice steady. Derek has been buying luxury gifts for another woman with my card. The color drained from Derek's face as he reached for the document, but Claire held it just out of his grasp. Who is she, Derek? She asked coldly. Who is the woman you've been buying all these expensive gifts for? He swallowed hard, unable to meet her gaze. It's not what you think, he muttered. She's just a friend. Those were birthday presents. Claire raised an eyebrow, unimpressed by his weak explanation. Birthday presents for who? Exactly? Your friend or your mistress? The room fell silent, tension crackling in the air. Derek's voice trembled as he attempted to respond. It's not like that. You're making this into something it's not, Claire. I've had enough, she interrupted, her voice rising. I know the truth. I've been watching you. For months, Derek. His face twisted with anger and fear. You've been spying on me? He exclaimed, incredulous. I had to, she replied, unwavering. You were barely home, always making excuses to leave, missing important events, and using my credit card behind my back. You left me no choice. Derek's parents were staring at him now, their expressions filled with disappointment and disbelief. His mother spoke first, her voice quiet yet filled with sorrow. Derek, is this true? Have you been treating Claire like this? He stood frozen, unable to answer. The weight of his actions hung heavily in the air. His father's face hardened as the realization sank in. I trusted you, son, he said, his voice filled with anger. We all did, and this is how you repay us. Derek tried to defend himself, but with each word, he dug himself deeper into a hole. I just needed a little help, he stammered, his confidence crumbling. I thought it was fine. I'm your husband, Claire. I'm supposed to be able to use our money. Claire shook her head slowly, her heart racing. You mean my money? And you used it to spoil someone else? Her father-in-law's expression darkened. Derek, he said sternly, you've crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Derek's eyes flickered with desperation, and in a last-ditch effort to save face, he turned to Claire with an accusation. You've been trying to trap me this whole time, haven't you? Setting me up to fail. Claire stared at him, shocked by his audacity. No, Derek. You trapped yourself. This is all you're doing. For a moment, silence fell over the group as Derek's words hung heavy in the air. Then, in a last act of defiance, he declared, It doesn't matter what you say. I'm leaving. I'll be with Lily. Gasps filled the room as his parents looked on in horror. Claire stood there, letting the words settle before she delivered the final blow. Lily? The woman you've been buying gifts for? Derek's silence confirmed her suspicion. At that moment, Claire realized she no longer felt anger. She felt pity. She felt sorry for him, for the choices he made and the life he chose over their marriage. Goodbye, Derek, she said quietly, her voice steady. I'm not going to fight you anymore. This ends now. His mouth opened and closed, searching for the right words, but nothing came out. The reality of the situation crashed down around him, leaving him speechless as Claire turned to leave. As she stepped outside, Claire took a deep breath, the weight lifting off her shoulders with Every step she took away from the restaurant, she felt liberated, a sense of freedom she hadn't felt in years. From that day forward, Claire vowed never to look back. She embraced her independence, focusing on herself, her career, and her dreams. It was time to reclaim her life and build a future free from deceit and manipulation. With every passing day, she grew stronger, forging new relationships, pursuing her passions, and healing from the wounds of her past. Derek became a distant memory, a lesson learned, rather than a lingering regret. As she sat down with her family for a cozy dinner one evening, Claire couldn't help but smile. Life was better without Derek, and she felt hopeful about the future ahead.